My wife started wearing perfume to yoga class 3 weeks ago. Now, I'm no expert on downward-facing dogs, but I'm pretty sure the only scent you're supposed to leave with is your own sweat and maybe some incense. Elara claimed it was self-care, which is rich coming from someone who considers ordering takeout a culinary achievement. I'm Kellan Brooks, 35, partner at Brooks & Lang Legal Services here in Seattle. Not the glamorous kind of lawyer you see on TV, more like the guy who helps small businesses navigate contracts and keeps developers from screwing over homeowners. It pays well enough for the penthouse overlooking Elliott Bay, but apparently not well enough to keep my wife's attention. Derek thinks we should expand into corporate litigation, Elara mentioned over breakfast, scrolling through her phone with that little smile she used to reserve for me. Derek Lang, my business partner, had been coming up in conversation a lot lately. Derek thinks this, Derek says that. If I didn't know better, I'd think Derek was the one married to her. "Since when do you care about our business strategy?" I asked, watching her fingers dance across the screen. She was texting someone, and from the speed of her thumbs, it wasn't her mother. "I care about our future, Kellan. Some people have vision." Vision. Right. The only vision I was getting was crystal clear, and it wasn't pretty. That night while Elara showered, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The preview showed a message from Derek. "Can't wait for tomorrow. You looked incredible today." She'd been at the office that afternoon, supposedly dropping off lunch. Funny thing about incredible, that's not typically how business partners describe each other's sandwich delivery skills. I made my decision right there, listening to her humming in the shower, like she didn't have a care in the world. "You want to play games? Fine. But I've been practicing law for 12 years, and I know how to build a case." The next morning, I called Harbor Bay Marina. "I'd like to charter your largest yacht for this weekend," I told the manager. "Something special for my wife. Money's no object." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Evidence. That's what separates lawyers from everyone else screaming about fairness. Anyone can make accusations, but proof? That's where the magic happens. I started small. Expense reports, calendar entries, credit card statements, all perfectly legal. We shared accounts, after all. What I found made my stomach turn, but my lawyer brain started calculating. Dinner at Canlis on Tuesday night when I was in Portland for a deposition. Hotel charges at the Fairmont Olympic when she claimed to be at her sister's place in Tacoma. A jewelry purchase from Tiffany & Co. for $800, a necklace I'd never seen her wear, until last Thursday when she wore it to bed. "New necklace?" I'd asked, keeping my voice casual. "This old thing? I've had it forever." Lie number 1. I had the receipt, dated 3 weeks ago. Derek's credit card. My assistant Zara knocked on my office door Friday afternoon. 25, sharp as a razor and loyal as a German shepherd. She'd been watching the office dynamics with those observant eyes of hers. "Boss, you okay? You look like someone stole your lunch money." Something like that. "Zara, I need you to do me a favor. Pull Derek's expense reports for the last 6 months. Cross-reference them with any charges that mention marketing or client entertainment." She raised an eyebrow but didn't ask questions. That's why I liked her. 2 hours later, she knocked again. "You're not going to like this." The reports told a story. Derek had been billing marketing consultations with Elara's social media company, a company that consisted of her laptop and a business license she'd gotten online. $10,000 over 4 months, all approved by Derek himself since he handled our operational expenses. "They've been stealing from us," I said aloud, the pieces clicking together. "From you," Zara corrected. "Derek's been paying your wife with company money to cheat on you. That's next level awful." I called my personal attorney, Margaret Lee, 60 years old, sharp as broken glass, and meaner than a wet cat when someone tried to play her. If I was going to war, I wanted her in my corner. "Kellan, this is messy. she said after reviewing everything. But it's also solid: financial fraud, breach of partnership agreement, and enough evidence for a clean divorce. What do you want to do? I want them to pay, both of them, publicly. I can arrange that. That evening, I ran into Derek at his building's parking garage. Coincidentally, of course. Nothing coincidental about it. Kellan, what brings you to my neighborhood? Meeting a client nearby, I lied smoothly. How's business been? You seem energetic lately. Derek's smile faltered for just a second. Great. Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about Elara. She seems unhappy, man. Maybe you should pay more attention to her. The audacity was breathtaking. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks for looking out for my marriage, Derek. That means a lot. He clapped me on the shoulder like we were old friends. Anytime, partner. Partner. We'd see about that. Saturday morning arrived gray and drizzly, typical Seattle weather for what I had planned. Elara practically bounced around the penthouse, packing her best dresses and that ridiculous sun hat she'd bought for our honeymoon in Cabo. I can't believe you planned a romantic yacht getaway, she gushed, holding up a red dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. This is so unlike you. I'm full of surprises. She had no idea. The drive to the marina took us through downtown, past the courthouse where I'd spent countless hours arguing cases. Instead of continuing to the waterfront, I pulled into the courthouse parking lot. Kellan, this isn't the marina. No, it's not. Margaret Lee was waiting by the steps, briefcase in hand, looking like she was ready to destroy someone's day. Which she was. What's going on? Elara's voice pitched higher, that fake sweetness cracking around the edges. I handed her a manila folder. Open it. Her face went through several interesting changes as she flipped through the pages. Screenshots of text messages, credit card statements, hotel receipts, photos of her wearing Derek's necklace, all organized chronologically, cross-referenced, and annotated like the legal brief it was. This isn't what it looks like, she started, but her voice shook. It looks like fraud and adultery, Margaret said crisply. Both actionable in Washington state. A black sedan pulled up, and Derek climbed out, looking confused and slightly panicked. I'd sent him a text an hour ago, claiming Elara was in trouble and needed him at the courthouse immediately. Amazing how quickly he'd responded. Elara? What's... He stopped when he saw Margaret, then me, then the folder in Elara's hands. Oh. Hello, Derek, I said pleasantly. Thanks for coming. We have some things to discuss. Family court isn't designed for drama, but Judge Patricia Ramirez had seen enough cases to handle whatever we threw at her. The small hearing room felt cramped with all the players. Me, Elara, Derek, our respective attorneys, and Margaret, who looked like she was about to enjoy herself immensely. This is a preliminary hearing regarding marital assets and potential fraud allegations, Judge Ramirez announced. Mr. Brooks, you've made some serious claims. Margaret stood, every inch the seasoned litigator. Your Honor, we have extensive documentation of financial impropriety and breach of fiduciary duty. She laid it out methodically. The fake consulting payments, the hotel charges, the coordinated timeline of lies. Derek's attorney, some nervous kid who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, kept objecting, but the evidence was airtight. Mrs. Brooks, the judge said, these text messages show you discussing our plans with Mr. Lang while your husband was out of town. Care to explain? Elara tried to spin it, claiming Derek was just being supportive during our marital difficulties. But Margaret had more screenshots, including ones where Elara complained about me being clueless and easy to fool. And Mr. Lang, Judge Ramirez continued, you approved payments to Mrs. Brooks's company for services that appear to have been personal in nature. Derek cracked under pressure, admitting to the affair and the financial arrangements. His lawyer looked ready to crawl under the table. I stood up, unable to resist. Your Honor, I'd like to address the court. Mr. Brooks, this is highly irregular. I'll be brief. I turned to face Elara and Derek, letting 12 years of courtroom experience guide my words. You thought I was stupid. Both of you. The oblivious husband, too busy working to notice his wife was stealing from him with his own business partner. You made jokes about it, didn't you? How easy I was to fool. Elara's face was red, tears streaming down her cheeks. Derek stared at his hands. But here's what you forgot, I continued. I'm a lawyer. I build cases for a living, and you two just gave me the best case I've ever had. The judge granted a temporary restraining order freezing all marital assets and ordered an audit of the business accounts. Derek's partnership agreement had a morality clause. He was out, effective immediately. As we left the courthouse, Elara grabbed my arm. Kellan, please, we can work this out. I looked at her hand on my sleeve, then at her face. The yacht was never real, Elara. Just like our marriage, apparently. Derek's BMW was his pride and joy, a sleek black M5 that he'd spent more time polishing than working, which made what happened next particularly satisfying. My friend Tony owns an auto detail shop in Georgetown, and he owed me a favor from when I'd helped him with a contract dispute. When I explained the situation, his eyes lit up with the kind of glee usually reserved for lottery winners. You want creative? I'll give you creative, he promised. The next morning, Derek's car was returned to his building's garage, detailed to perfection. It wasn't until he started the engine that he discovered the fish oil Tony had worked into the ventilation system. The smell was immediate and overwhelming, like a seafood restaurant had caught fire. But the real masterpiece was the paint job. Nothing permanent, just water-soluble paint that spelled out "cheater" across the hood in bright red letters. It would wash off eventually, but not before every resident of his upscale building got a good look. Derek called me, screaming about vandalism and lawsuits. I listened patiently, then said, "Prove I did anything, Derek. I was home all night with witnesses." Which was true. Margaret and her husband had come over for dinner, establishing a perfect alibi. The final touch came when someone, definitely not me, sent photos of Derek's decorated car to our firm's group chat. Within hours, it was all over social media. Our clients started calling, asking if they needed new representation. The Bar Association launched an ethics investigation. Elara tried a different approach, showing up at my office with tears and apologies. She'd always been good at manipulation, but I was done being her target. "I made a mistake," she sobbed. "Derek seduced me. I was vulnerable." "You were greedy," I corrected. "And now you're broke. Funny how that works." The asset freeze meant she couldn't access our joint accounts. Her credit cards were canceled. The penthouse was in my name only, purchased before our marriage. She was staying with her sister, driving a 10-year-old Honda, and facing fraud charges. "You've destroyed my life," she said. "No, Elara. I just stopped pretending yours was worth preserving." The law firm's annual gala was supposed to be a celebration, but it turned into something much more entertaining. 200 of Seattle's legal community gathered at the Fairmont Olympic, the same hotel where Elara and Derek had conducted their affair. I'd arranged for a slideshow highlighting the firm's achievements over the past year. What I hadn't arranged, officially, was for certain additional slides to appear in the presentation. Screenshots of text messages, photos of Derek's decorated car, and a timeline of their fraud appeared on the giant screen behind the podium. The room went silent, then erupted in whispers and laughter. Derek tried to rush the stage, but security stopped him. Elara's parents, who'd driven up from Portland to support their daughter, looked mortified. "This is harassment," Derek shouted from the back of the room. "This is evidence," I replied into the microphone. "All obtained legally and presented accurately. Anyone who wants copies for their own protection, see my assistant." The crowd loved it. Lawyers appreciate a well-constructed case, even when it involves personal destruction. Derek made one last desperate play, confronting me outside as the gala ended. He was drunk, furious, and stupid enough to swing at me in front of 50 witnesses. I stepped aside, and he stumbled into the hotel's decorative fountain with a splash that sent water cascading over the marble floor. Camera phones captured everything. By morning, Soccer Fountain Lawyer was trending on local social media. Elara appeared as Derek climbed out of the fountain, mascara running, dress wrinkled, looking nothing like the polished social media manager she'd pretended to be. "You've won, Kellan," she said quietly. "Are you happy now?" I looked at her, this woman I'd loved and trusted, now reduced to a cautionary tale about greed and betrayal. Then I looked at Derek, dripping wet and humiliated, his career and reputation in ruins. "Happy? No," I said. "But satisfied? Absolutely." The crowd began to disperse, people pulling out their phones to share the evening's entertainment. Derek and Elara slunk away together, two failures who deserved each other. I walked back to my penthouse alone, the city lights reflecting off Elliott Bay like scattered diamonds. My phone buzzed with messages, congratulations from colleagues, interview requests from local media, and one text from Zara. "Boss, you're trending. Also, 3 new clients called. Apparently everyone wants the lawyer who won his own case." I poured myself a scotch and stepped onto the balcony. The yacht I'd never chartered bobbed somewhere in the harbor below, but I didn't need it anymore. The real journey was over. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad or getting even. Sometimes it's just getting everything.